we just can't stop talking about those WCW autograph cards from the late 90s. Are collecting complete sets making a comeback? Does the mainstream public awareness of wrestling actually affect wrestling cards more than the in-ring product or the on-screen product? Gold parallels of top wrestling stars. That's what everybody says you should buy. But if that's the case, why aren't they selling for more? This is the Wrestling Card Market Watch for September 2023. What's up, wrestling fans, trading card collectors? Welcome to another episode of Wrestling with Cards. Each month I do one of these videos looking back at some interesting sales, talking points, and trends that I've seen in the world of wrestling cards. If this is your first time stopping by, thank you for your time. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss any more new videos. And if you're a longtime member of the Wrestling with Cards community, hit that like button and we appreciate you for coming back. Let's see what September had for us in the world of wrestling cards. The headline sale of the month tops WCW autograph cards. Yeah. We're here again to talk about these. I'm sure that many of you out there are really sick of seeing these brought up in these Market Watch videos and being talked about within the community. But the fact is they stir up so much controversy and so many talking points that we just need to keep talking about them, I think. So for this video, I pulled 3 specific cards that we're going to talk about that sold in September. And each one of them is going to be brought up for a different reason. Can we take any different angles or approaches to these cards? Can we uncover any new information? Or will these cards just be the same old prices of the same old cards that we've seen before? Let's find out. Hulk Hogan signed PSA 8, signed on the back as Hollywood. $3,999.99. However, a best offer of $2,600 was accepted. Yet another Hulk Hogan variant card that's surfaced and sold. Not to mention, graded and authenticated by PSA as an 8, which in these cards I think is pretty good. And somebody was actually willing to pay that high of a price for this variant signed on the back. Or could it have been shilled? We don't know. But the intrigue and the lore and the stories that we continue to find out more, seems like every month we've got new information on these about how they were signed, where they were signed, who signed them, what was signed where. All of that talk just seems to generate steam from pushing these cards even further into the spotlight when it comes to collectors. And it's also pushing the prices. These things seem to go higher and higher each month. Let's move on to the next one. A Sting Auto Raw, $2,899.99. However, a best offer of $1,900 was accepted. We also had another one sold, $2,900. However, a best offer of $1,000 was accepted. Buying these cards raw seems a little bit risky for me, especially at those prices. Not to mention, one of the autos looks terrible and the other one maybe looks like it was signed 2 days ago, which then questions the authenticity, as if we're not questioning the authenticity of these cards enough as it is. And I could be totally wrong on those, but just from a quick glance, these look a little bit funny to me. But on to the next card. Macho Man BGS 9.5 with a 9 graded auto. $3,000. However, a best offer of $2,660 was accepted. We also had a PSA 8 version of the same card, sell for $1,826. Here we have the rare instance of a BGS slab outselling a PSA slab. There could still be the argument of, does a BGS 9.5 actually equal a PSA 10, or what is that level that people within the community and collectors are looking at now? And the fact of if people even care about BGS anymore, since PSA seems to be what the gold standard of grading companies is now. The auto definitely looks better on the BGS copy. It doesn't look as streaky. But I think the real question is, where do we go on all of these WCW autograph cards? There's people within the wrestling card community that are questioning the authenticity of these cards, it seems like, more and more every day. But on the flip side, we have people that are buying them more and more every day with the prices continually going up. I've even actually seen and heard some people talk about, well, I'm going to buy these cards to go in my set. I don't care that they're fake or not. They're part of the set. I need to have them. And that's definitely an interesting take. I just say buyer beware on these. If you're interested in picking up a card from this set, before you purchase it, reach out to some of the other great members of the wrestling card community on social media that you know that collect these things. If you don't know who those people are, you can reach out to me on social media and I could put you in contact with them. And that way you can ask them questions to kind of vet certain cards you're looking at. And if it's real, if it's fake, does that matter? What's a good price? Overall, I think this whole set is awesome. And the lore and the stories behind these things growing day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year, it's only building to the popularity and the mystique of them, I think. Not to mention, I'm a huge fan of the, I'll call them clone cards like this, the cards that have been put out by other trading card companies or other sets that look very similar to these WCW auto ones. They're completely new cards. I'm not talking about that guy out there from Maryland that continues to put out these bootleg fake versions of these same WCW cards. I'm talking about the cards that the Major Figure Podcast has put out, or the cards that Joypad Lad has put out from his Gray Blur website. Those cards are great, and it allows a collector of these WCW autograph sets to kind of add those card sets on the back end of that WCW set. It would look really cool in a binder and a box or something, just kind of putting it all together. I think it's a great collecting idea. Totally awesome sale of the month. Seated Senton, Hollywood Haley J, and Amazing Maria autograph cards, $99.99 with $5 shipping. You had to see this one coming. Unless you've been living under a rock, I'm sure most of you are familiar with the show The Wrestlers on Netflix. From what I've seen and heard, there's been a lot of talk around this show. And not just from wrestling fans. I've had a lot of people that I know for a fact don't give a crap about wrestling come to me like, hey, have you watched that show, The Wrestlers on Netflix? It's really good. I loved watching. I binge watched it. And with Hollywood Haley J being one of the primary characters in the show, you know people were going to go after her cards. And while I didn't do a deep dive into Hollywood Haley J cards, what else she has, is this a rookie card? I didn't really dig into that. But what it did immediately make me think of is, what exactly is it that drives wrestling card popularity and sales from market standpoint? Let's start by first talking about the sports card world. Common sense would say that if a player wins a championship, if a player has a big game, then that means their cards are going to go to the moon. Or if they had a great on-field performance, maybe that drives a little bit of that speculation. And that is sometimes the case. But within sports cards, most of the time, the market and the sales are driven purely from speculation. And it starts in the off season of each sport. What football player in the summertime is looking like the next Tom Brady? What baseball player in January could be the next Mike Trout? What new up and coming talent that just got drafted that's in the NBA Summer League is the next Kobe? So people think that way. They go out and buy those cards, and then they try to sell them before the season starts, selling into that hype. Because ironically, once the season starts and those games are actually being played, even if those talents and those superstar athletes are actually performing up to that expectation of the hobby hype, the prices go down, the interest level goes down. And we can't really say that for wrestling cards, because wrestling as a sport is year-round, as we know, never ends. So in my opinion, what really drives the market and prices and popularity of wrestling cards kind of comes a combination of three different things: speculation, social media, hardcore collectors. Let's start with speculation. Of course, it's just like sports cards. Maybe somebody that's not a rookie, but now has just blown up. So for example, an LA Knight, Rhea Ripley, Dom Mysterio, Cody Rhodes. Somebody that has an interesting gimmick or really gets the crowd going with catchphrases or music or style. In this case with Hollywood Haley J, up until recently when she had an appearance for AEW, she hadn't hit the big time. She was still being considered a prospect and may still be right now. So maybe people are looking at this card and saying, hey, this is the Haley J rookie auto. I've got to invest in it. I've got to speculate with it. What if she ends up being the face of AEW? What if she transcends that and gets into the face of WWE? Social media also drives interest. People with large followings, whether it's a content creator, a breaker, or somebody that just posts a lot of wrestling cards, actually has a lot of influence for people that what they see them doing. And what I mean is that they start showing off certain cards or certain wrestlers or talents or parallels that they bought, not really meaning to necessarily sway the market, but they post those things, and if they have a large following, people think, oh, well, I need to do that too. That's the smart choice. I think this can be a bad thing in some cases, where collectors and that hive mentality kind of get caught up in their own bubble and their own echo chamber of thinking. As I've always said, collect for yourself, not for anyone else. But also from a flipping or investment standpoint, I think it's okay to see what other people are doing that you know that have been successful doing it, and just ride their coattails. Nothing wrong with that. I'm not ashamed to say that I've seen what someone's done in the sports card world, done the same thing, or taken that idea of what they've done with sports cards and transitioned that into wrestling, made some money off that, and then I took that money and either put it into the Cross collection, put it in the Wrestling All-Stars collection that are my actual PCs, or I save that money for other life stuff. And lastly, what can really drive the sales and the markets of these things are hardcore collectors. The types of people that when a wrestling card comes out, no matter what it is, they've got to have it for their collection. And once they get it, it's never leaving that collection. So sometimes that can then dictate prices and the market based on availability, rarity, and scarcity of stuff that's out there. But back to this Haley J card, it is an indie card, and indie cards always seem to drive buzz within the wrestling card hobby, no matter if it's good or bad. And the buzz created by her Netflix appearance, by just the mainstream seeing her as a wrestler, I'm pretty sure that caused some people to start looking for her cards. Best of luck to her on her future career and on the future of her cards. The surprising sale of the month: complete sets. making a comeback? Really? I was shocked when I saw some of the numbers of these complete sets being sold, selling for what I think are good amounts of money. Let's take a look at what I'm talking about. 1985 Scanlon's WWF, $952.43 with $34.76 shipped, and that is in Australian currency. The 85 WWF Scanlon stuff is way more rare than the top stuff. And apparently somebody just wanted to buy all of it together instead of trying to put the set together by buying the singles. And in my opinion, that's really smart considering how rare and how expensive some of these things can get. Even of the lesser named stars in this set, if you're finding Scanlons, especially, or sometimes even the OPC, the stuff's a lot more expensive than the top stuff. 1991 Impel WCW, $40 with $4 shipping. Yes, these sets are still selling. $44 shipped for one of these sets is a really good amount, I think, especially considering it's way overproduced and the fact that somebody out there may actually still be printing these cards to this day. Although I'm not sure if those rumors are actually true or not. This set has just become legendary at this point, even if it has been printed to the moon. And even if they're not worth that much, the demand of people wanting these things for nostalgia and for memories, it's still there. 1995 BBM complete set, $199.99. This is a big set, both from a quantity and talent standpoint. And while there are cards in here that people know, I don't think as a whole this set gets talked about very much. That being said, the big time cards in here that I do see people talk about are considered to be rookies by many collectors. Cards like Wild Pegasus, which is Chris Benoit, Black Tiger, which is Eddie Guerrero, Sabu, Hayabusa, Masato Tanaka, Mike Awesome, Leatherface, and Super Leather, Minoru Suzuki, Ken Shamrock, Cactus Jack, and Atsushi Onita, just to name a few of the big names in this set. Not to mention a ton of other big time names that most people that are either Japanese wrestling fans, MMA fans, or American wrestling fans will probably know a lot of these names. So it's a pretty good set overall, and the fact that somebody came in and bought this entire thing for under $1 a card seems like a good deal to me. 2018 all in, $125 with $8.15 shipping. Overall, this set has really come down in price from the hobby boom price, but when you look at the original price of what you would get this at High Spots or at the event, it's 5 times as much as it originally was, so you can't complain. It's still a great set to own. It's got some early cards of Britt Baker and MJF and more. But what's important is that while there were indie cards out released before this set came out, I think this set is really kind of what set the trajectory of what indie cards can do and that boom of indie cards being produced and being collected. So yeah, again, despite what the hobby mainstream may tell you, people still love set collecting, even if it's not cherry picking the cards individually and just buying it all together. I just love seeing people buy these things, collecting the way that they want to collect, doing what they want to do, how they want to do it, and not caring about what anybody else in the hobby says about it. Salute to you. Questionable sale of the month, 2022 WWE Select Roman Reigns Concourse Gold out of 10, $72 with $5.10 shipping. Okay, wait a minute. You're telling me that a top tier talent, the WWE, in a gold parallel, which everybody in the hobby says is the card you've got to have, in a first year release of a product and a set that everybody says is so good, and it sells for under $100? It's a little bit questionable if you ask me. But why? Why did it sell for so little? I think there are a few factors that you could definitely contribute to this. First off, it's an auction. I've been saying this for a while now. Unless you just need the cash or unless you just don't care what your card is going to sell for, you just want that money so you can either pay something for life expenses like bills, or you could just take all that money, you no longer have interest in the card, and you just want to dump it into the new stuff you're collecting or buy some wax. That's okay, but if you're looking for the top tier amount that your card for sell for, do not run auctions. I know there are people out there that are saying, well, if you run it at auction, that's the true value of what someone's willing to pay. And that's just not true. I've seen cards end at auction for 1/8 of the price of what I sold that same exact card for in my eBay store right around the same time. Now next, let's talk about the type of card this is. It's the first year of WWE Select, which apparently is a crowd favorite within the community, and it's a concourse, which is generally going to sell for less than the Premier or for the ringside. But that being said, again, it's gold, it's out of 10, that's what the hobby says you gotta have. And again, it's Roman Reigns. He's at the top of the mountain when it comes to a wrestling superstar currently. So what gives? Could it be that we just have too many golds out there? I mean, take Roman Reigns, for example. In this set, he's going to have a gold parallel for each level of the base set, Not to mention the gold inserts, the gold autographs, and I'm sure there's something else gold out there of his. It could also be that the wrestling card market has really changed. We aren't at those pricing heights and popularity heights that we were a few years back. And honestly, I'm not trying to be rude, but I think a lot of you need to wake up and realize that. I see people out there with prices on certain cards that are just way astronomical. And as always, you're allowed to price things at what you want and get what you can. But when it comes down to it, realistically, you have to change your mindset and adapt with the market and adapt with the times. Speaking of times, could it also be that people just do not have the discretionary income to spend on hobby-related stuff as much as they used to? There's a lot of things going on in the world right now that are pretty crazy, and we won't get into it here because there's so much that could affect economics. But it's just something that could be the case. Could it also be that Panini's just made way too many products despite collectors saying they haven't made enough? Those collectors wanting more and more wax. Those collectors saying, oh, the sky is falling because WWE is not going to have cards out for a while. They're going to lose their license. I'm not really sure, but I would love to hear what you think about this card and anything else that I've mentioned in today's video. Let me know by leaving a comment below on this video, or you can also reach out to me on social media and let me know. Which all the social links can be found in the links below, which you can also find links to all the ways that you can help show your support for my content. If you enjoyed today's video, hit that subscribe button. Give me a like and spread the word. Tell a friend about this video, the channel, and more importantly, just about wrestling cards, because they're cool. Until next time, click the videos on the screen for more great wrestling card content in the archives of this channel. We've got hundreds of videos available for your viewing pleasure. We'll see you, wrestling fans.